Okay, welcome everyone. Let's get started. Today for our live demonstration, we have fire building and fire starters demonstrations with our good friends Dan Decker and Kim Gifford, who are at Camp Bullowa. Rah, rah, Bullowa. Hello, Dan.
Hi, John. How's it going?
Good. Hi, Kim.
Hi.
You guys having a good day so far?
We are. It's beautiful weather down here. A lot of great merit badge classes this morning with the Scouts BSA. So it's been a good day.
That's good. I know originally we were going to do fire building yesterday, but a monsoon went through, so we adjusted to today. So thank you for doing that for the program. If anyone has any questions in the chat as we go through it, please type it to me, and I will ask Dan and Kim because they're going to be very busy demonstrating the fire starters. So Dan and Kim, take it away.
All right. So before we start talking about fire building, we really have to start talking about fire safety, because the number one thing with any activity in scouting, whether it's fire building, knives, firearms if you're camping on the range, archery, anything like that, is safety. No matter what we're doing, we want to be safe at all times. And fire, if you're not safe about it, it can get out of control and spread. And, things like forest fires can happen, et cetera, et cetera. So it's very important that we're safe with fire. So one of the key things is, where do you guys build a fire? And the best answer to that is in a raised fire pit, because that way it doesn't destroy nature. It's leave no trace. It's the best case scenario. And that's what we're going to be using today. Other options, you can use a pre-established fire pit. So, if you go camping, a lot of fire pits are built in the campsites. They're pre-established. You're able to just start a fire up there and you're good. And the third option is you can do a leave no trace fire or a mound fire. And I'll show you guys a picture of that soon. But a leave no trace fire or a mound fire, let me just present my screen right now. Is basically you take aluminum foil or something like that, and you put it under the fire pit. You take aluminum foil and put it on the ground, and then you pile a whole bunch of dirt on top of it, and then you're able to build your fire right on top of that dirt. A nice small little fire. It can do what's needed for a fire, keep you warm, stuff like that, and it doesn't destroy nature in the process. If you don't have any of this, or let's say you want to build a fire pit in your own backyard, you would want to make sure you clear a nice area around the fire pit so there's nothing around it that's going to catch on fire. Even if you're using a fire pit in a campsite, you want to make sure all the leaves are away from it. You don't want anything dry nearby that's going to catch on fire outside of the fire pit from like a stray spark or anything like that. Another very important safety thing when you're talking about fire is you should always have water nearby. So, here at Camp Bullowa today, when we're building our fire, we're going to have a fire bucket filled with water. And that's just in case the fire gets out of control, or when you're done with it, you can you can put it out with that water. The other very important thing is you need adult supervision when you're building a fire. All right, especially you Cub Scouts who have never done this before, make sure you have adult supervision if you're doing this. But yeah, so let's get started. So we're going to talk a little bit about fire starters, because when you're building a fire, you're going to need something to light that will hopefully catch the wood. Because if you hold a match up to the wood, it's probably not going to light soon enough to really get a fire going. So you're going to need, you can use a lot of things. We're going to show you how to make a specific thing. So you could use Vaseline, cotton balls covered in Vaseline. They burn really well. They sell commercial fire starters, which are also fine to use. You can buy them in most camping stores or scout shops. You can also, newspaper works well. And there's also a few other ones you can make too. And Kim's going to show you how to make one of them, basically a tube filled with dryer lint. So I'm going to turn it over to Kim right now.
Hey Dan, should you stop sharing your screen?
Oh, I should. Give me a second. There we go.
Okay, good morning. Okay, so Dan said, so this was something I had sent home for the Cub Scouts to do. A couple different fire starters they could build. So a couple easy things you could do with a toilet paper roll, just an empty one, and some dryer lint. Being in Scouts, I usually save the dryer lint. It's very flammable and makes starting fire very easy. You can stuff your roll with lint and you can make some logs this way. Very, very simple. I'm going to go ahead and just make a second one. Other things that can help you, dried pine cones is a really good thing that you can use. You can use them by themselves, or you can wrap them up in some newspaper. You can even put some pine needles in. Something you could use newspaper, or this is my leftover bag from lunch yesterday. So you could make some easy logs. Just gonna fold it up. And I'm just gonna roll it up. So of course you could just crinkle it up and put it in, but I like to use the logs. My string is probably way too big, but I'm just going to tie it up. So if you were going on a campfire, you were having it at your house, or you were going to an event, you could bring some things like this along. The BSA Scouts, I know you like to make fire starters with wax. A lot of different options you could do there. One of the most common is using the egg carton crates. You can put wax, you could put lint, sawdust, and those make really good fire starters also. Also, when you're gathering kindling, I find that some dried wood like this that you'll find is really great kindling. So just not your sticks, but like this dried bark is really awesome to use. I'm going to turn it back over to Dan, and we are going to start making our fire.
All right, thank you, Kim. So one thing before we start getting back into the fire building is you have to set your fire up and get it ready to go. So there's a few different setups you can use for the fire. So I am going to screen share again and show you a few of these different possible setups that you can use. So the first one is the teepee method. And the teepee method, you basically take your kindling, your fire starter, things like that. You're going to put them inside the teepee, and then you're going to pile sticks up around the teepee. So you have almost, like I said, the sticks form almost like a Native American teepee. And the other option you have is a log cabin. And this one, you're going to pile the sticks up almost like you're building one of those log cabins that you did when you were a kid. And inside, you're going to put your kindling, your fire starter, stuff like that. And then, you're going to build up around it. As it gets bigger, you make the log cabin bigger, and so on and so forth. And then the last one you can do is a lean-to fire. And the lean-to fire, you basically take a larger piece of wood, you put smaller pieces of wood on top, and then underneath, you're going to stuff your kindling and your fire starters and all of that fun stuff. Okay, so let's head on over to the fire pit, and I'm going to show you guys how to make a lean-to fire. All right. All right, so I think you can see the fire all right. So this is our fire pit right here. And we got a couple different things I want to talk about before we start with this. So you're not going to want to start your log with bigger fires. Now for the lean-to fire, we are going to use one bigger log just to lean our other sticks against it. But for the most part, you're going to want smaller stuff. All right. You could also hand me the bag with it too. All right. So I've got a bag of a lot of dry stuff right here. Small dry stuff that I take with me on most camping trips. Always try to add to it when I can. And it's very small. You can almost see it there. So basically I'm going to pile this up right inside there. I'll show you it once I get it done because it's going to be a little hard to see with the raised edges. You're going to take your fire starter. Oh, there you go. You can just grab the camera. There you go. You can take your fire starters and you put them right inside here. Okay. And then you're going to take some smaller dry wood, just like this. Pile it up. Sticks. And you're going to get almost a lean-to shape right here. All right. So this is what is called a lean-to fire. Now, when you're lighting it, you have a couple different options. So you have matches, which I recommend getting a nice box of matches like this. Got a striker on the side. You can also get strike anywhere matches. Oh, you want to point the camera towards me, Kim? Okay. Yeah, there we go. So matches right here. Nice box like this. You can also get strike anywhere, same thing. You can also use flint and steel, which is basically a block of metal. You scrape off one side into the fire, which ignites really quickly. And then the other side has a striker on it. And when you use the striker, it will spark and it will ignite your kindling. It will ignite the magnesium that you scraped off the other side of the flint and steel. And that will help you start your fire. It's one of the harder methods to do, but it's also one of the more fun methods. Unfortunately, I don't have any flint and steel with me today. You can also use a lighter, which, let me grab that real quick. All right. So when you're using a lighter, I would suggest you get one of these that are the longer lighters. You don't want one of the ones you click because they're much easier to burn yourself with. But you can, like I said, this works perfectly fine. All right. So we're going to light our fire now. There we go. And now fire needs oxygen to breathe. So you might have to blow on it, but don't blow too hard when it's brand new because you might blow it out. Like I just did right there.
It's still going.
Oh, it's still going.
Both sides.
Yep. So our fire starters are going to catch first. And once our fire starters catch, the rest of the wood is going to catch. Now, if you're brand new at this, or even if you're experienced at this, sometimes it doesn't always go according to plan. Sometimes you're going to have to try multiple times. Even today, sometimes I still have to try multiple times. It can be a little tricky sometimes.
I'm trying to really show that that fire starter is burning.
So right now, while we're trying to get the fire going, if anyone has questions, you can send them to John, and we'll try to answer them the best we can.
There is one question in the chat. Are you guys going to be making s'mores?
Probably not today, but you definitely can. S'mores are a thing you can definitely do.
All right, another question here. Someone had a question about the tin foil setup you had up before, Dan.
Yes.
What's your recommended dimensions for it? How big do you think it should be?
It depends on how big you want your fire to be.
All right. So bigger fire, bigger tin foil.
Yep.
All right.
And the bigger the mound, too. So we got a lot of smoke going.
It's going.
Yeah.
So you got to be patient a little bit.
Yeah, fire building is an art form.
James from Canada would like you to know that he has the same fire pit as Campoloa.
Very
Awesome.
neat.
Simon has a question.
Yes.
Is it safe to carry fire starters on a campout, or is it safe to store them in your house? Like, where is the best place for that?
All right. Well, it's going to depend on your fire starters. Most of them that you make it yourself at home, they're perfectly fine to keep in your house, to carry with you on a camping trip. You know, they're not going to light unless you light them. You know, and there's a few chemical ones out there that you can buy commercially, and you should follow the instructions for those on the package.
Okay. Now, Dan, this is a good question for you as an Eagle Scout. How many times have you made a fire?
Quite a few. This is actually my first time with the lean-to method. Normally I use the log cabin method, but I thought the lean-to method would be quicker to show you guys. And it's also a method I never really heard about in scouting until we were filming videos for Camp in a Box. And a couple of my scouts that were helping with the first year camper program filmed one. I typically use the teepee method or the log cabin method.
So another question here. What's your favorite type of fire?
I find the teepees are pretty easy to start, but I use the log cabin a lot when we're doing a campfire at camp because it looks much bigger. It's more ceremonial. You can get a teepee fire pretty big too, but you know, for campfire purposes, the log cabins I just like a little bit better. It depends on what you're using it for. I'll use the teepee a lot if I'm making a cooking fire.
Okay.
So let's see. We're having a little trouble with our fire.
Someone asked, is the wood still wet from yesterday?
It might be a little wet, but we tried to get the driest stuff we could find. Try to take a little bit off the top, move it around.
I mean, the fire starter is still going over here.
Yeah, this side went out. That side's still going.
Okay.
So just like any scout skill out there, scouts, just remember, if you're tying knots or practicing first aid, fire building is definitely something that you have to practice over and over again.
Right, and no matter how many times you practice, you can still struggle with it sometimes.
A funny story, one time I was on a camping trip with 3 other Eagle Scouts, and we couldn't get the fire started because it rained so much, and everyone was like, oh, I thought you guys were Eagle Scouts. So, you know, sometimes it can be difficult. It's just important to not get frustrated and stay focused and keep trying.
Yep.
Someone asked, can you use a match?
Yes, you can use a match. You know, you can use a match, you can use a lighter, you can use flint and steel, you can use a whole lot of different things. Some of the commercially available fire starters actually come with a match end, so you just light it and you throw it in the fire.
So just describe what you're doing right now, Dan.
So I'm blowing on the fire right now to try to give it some oxygen. You know, I think I might have put a little too much wood on it, but I do see it's still going, it's still smoking. There we go.
Someone's asking, Phoenix is asking, which method was the first method of fire you've ever used?
Which method for?
Which was the first fire building method that you ever used?
I think probably the teepee is the first one I successfully used.
Yeah.
I think log cabin is the first one I tried to use.
Another question, do you need dry wood? It is definitely helpful. Dry wood is the best,
Yes.
best thing to have.
Dry wood does catch on fire easier. If you have wet wood, if you get the fire hot enough, you can get it to burn sometimes.
Yeah, someone's asking, is it wet? Yes, it is a little damp.
A little bit.
That's probably what the issue is.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a good one. Alex asked, Dan, when did you get your firemanship?
When did I get my firemanship? Well, I don't actually know when I got it. It was a long time ago. I got Eagle Scout in 2011, and I was a very last-minute Eagle. I got my firemanship probably pretty early on. So that gives you kind of an idea. Somewhere between 2004 and 2011. So we got some smoke here.
Yeah, that looks like it's going.
It's not going
Maybe
strong,
this one over here.
but it's going.
That one went out.
There we go.
All right. So, Dan, do you have any other skills to show us today?
Pretty much just the fire building.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions? All right, James says he has a question, so go ahead, James. Oh, here's a good question. Should you pour gasoline on the fire, Dan?
No, gasoline, you should never pour gasoline on a fire. It's very combustible. And in the process of doing it, you could injure yourself, burn yourself, anything like that.
I definitely don't want to do that. All right. Well, Kim, do you have anything else to add?
Well, true fire building, you want to do it with some good fire starters and good fire building. You don't really need a fuel such as, well, gasoline is dangerous, but you don't need a liquid fire starter at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Simon asks, what is your favorite thing to do around a campfire?
You know, at summer camp, we do a lot of fun campfire songs and skits. So, you know, I think that's probably my favorite thing, doing songs and skits.
I think being with friends and family.
That's great. That's great. All right.
Yeah.
Well, Dan,
wanna...
I think we're good.
All right.
Do you want to talk about our campfire for tomorrow night, John?
Yeah, sure. So just remember, tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m., we are going to have our closing campfire. We're going to be doing a live campfire. We're not going to be doing what we tried to do on Sunday night. We've adjusted our programming. But what we do want from you guys are videos of you singing a song, doing a cheer, or maybe a skit with your family. And we're going to put a montage of that together with pictures that have been posted on Facebook, and also that stuff that we can share later on our YouTube channel. So we hope to see you tomorrow night, but please send Dan your videos tonight so he has time to put it together, because he has to do that before Friday night. So thank you all, and there is a request for the banana song again, but I think we can do that again another time. But we're gonna move on. If you want to watch the banana song, you can go to the Camp in a Box Facebook page and check out the opening ceremony that is posted up there. All right, Kim, Dan, any parting words?
Just be careful when you're building fires. You know, safety is the number one thing, and have fun.
Be prepared.
All right. Thank you, everyone. You all have a good day. We'll see you at 3 o'clock. Don't forget, International Scouts. They're going to be on at 3 o'clock.